Okay, hello everyone. Thank you all for coming out this evening to hear a little bit about our programs in China and Taiwan. We're so excited that you're here with us, and we're excited to just share more about these programs that mean so much to us, and that we hope become an exciting part of your journey very soon. So tonight we're going to be talking specifically, like I said, about our programs in China and Taiwan, but both of us are also happy to answer questions about any of our other programs as well. So a lot of the things we say apply to all of the courses we run, and then we'll have time for questions at the end if you have questions about other specific programs that you might be interested in too. To introduce ourselves briefly, my name is Maddie, and I have been with Dragon since 2019, working as an instructor on our courses in China and Taiwan and the United States. And I'm currently working with our outreach team. So I think I've spoken with some of you on the phone recently as well. And then Shuier.
Hi everyone, my name is Shuier. I'm the Asia Program Director at Dragons, and my journey with Dragons started in 2006 when I was actually a language teacher for a group of teenagers who came to China, just like some of you will do in the summer. And then I got to know the company and really loved it, and then introduced my parents to become our homestay family. So my parents hosted numerous Dragon students through over a decade, actually. Then eventually I moved back to China in 2016 and became an instructor, then moved into the more administrative role in 2020 and have been holding that role since then. So yeah, loving to support you guys on the preparation journey and also support you while you are in field having fun in China or Taiwan.
And I think it's pretty typical of Dragons. I'm calling in from Missoula, Montana, where I live, and then Shuier is actually outside of Kunming in China, in one of the communities we visit sometimes on our Dragons programs as well. So we're calling in from all over the place, and uh, excited to share more about this journey.
Absolutely.
Um, in case anyone is a little bit new to Dragons overall and what we do here, I think one way to introduce ourselves as an organization is to share a little bit more about our name. That often gets a lot of attention. So why are we called Where There Be Dragons? And it's because long ago, map makers used to draw dragons when they were making maps of the world. They would draw dragons to represent the places on the map that were unfamiliar or unknown. They just didn't know what else to put there. And of course, all these places were very well known to the people who lived there, and have become known to the world since then. But we still like this idea that Where There Be Dragons means exploring the places that are unfamiliar in your own maybe mental map of the world, the places that still are represented by dragons and unfamiliarity to you. And then I think even more important, I love that it also kind of represents traveling to parts of yourself that might be unfamiliar and exploring yeah, new parts of yourself through our courses as well. And I think that's at the heart of everything that we do at Dragons. Just to share a brief introduction, some numbers here. We have been running programs for more than 30 years, and China is actually where we first started running programs back in the 1990s. So it really is the origin of our Dragons courses. Now we run them all over the world, but China is where everything started. And our courses are for students who are in high school as well as college students. And then we have a few other different kinds of programs you might have seen on our website, but mainly tonight we'll be talking about our high school and college summer and gap semester programs. That means that over the summer we have 2, 4, and 6 week programs, and we'll be talking about all of those tonight because we do have all different lengths of programs in China and Taiwan. And then we also have 3-month gap semester programs. So we have a 3-month gap semester in China that we can share a little bit about as well. And then what makes Dragons unique? I think there's so many different things about Dragons that really stand out to me. And I think in particular, talking about our programs in China and Taiwan, a lot of our programs are Mandarin immersion programs, and I think they're an incredible language immersion opportunity. But what I really love about Dragons is it's kind of like language immersion and also more. Students are really getting to travel to parts of these countries that are really difficult to access otherwise, into really small communities that are just hard to get to and hard to build real connections unless you've been in China or Taiwan for a very long time. And so it's an incredible experience to see a different side of the country than the big cities on the East Coast. All of our courses are also very unique. We never run exactly the same program twice. So our instructors are always designing the courses. You can see the sample itineraries on the website, and that will be a good representation of what the course is going to look like. But each one is going to have some unique differences that are going to be shaped by the instructors and the students. And that also gives us the flexibility to respond to different things going on, in the country or with the students, in order to make changes as we need to, and really custom craft the best program we can every single year. And also our instructors, as one of our instructors, I think this is one of the most amazing parts of the program for sure. So currently, I think a good portion of our instructors come from the countries where we travel. On every Dragons course, you'll have at least one instructor who's from the country where you're traveling. And then we also have instructors like myself. I'm originally from the US and spent a lot of time living and traveling in China in high school, and then also in college and after college as well. And so people who might be from the US but have a lot of deep immersive experience in these places too. And it's an incredible community that spans the entire world, that brings expertise in so many different areas. A lot of our instructors have advanced degrees and also just really interesting life experiences that they're bringing to our courses. And we also travel in small groups, which I think is just such a lovely part about our courses as well. Generally, it's 12 students with 3 instructors, so we have a really high student to instructor ratio. And it's also just a very small, tight-knit community that's going to be a big part of your support system, and hopefully a very positive part of your Dragons experience as well. We spend a lot of time and intention building the community of each group that we bring onto a Dragons course. And then finally, unplugged experiences. So this means literally, we are pretty much a tech-free program. If anyone has questions about the specifics of that, we're happy to share more. But basically, you'd be traveling without your phone, which most students say after the program was actually something they were really grateful for, and one of the more positive parts of their experience. So we really want to get off the beaten track, out there, away from a lot of the distractions that kind of pull us in from our everyday life. And I think we do a really good job accomplishing that at Dragons. And who are our students? I think sometimes we talk about these grand adventures and we have photos of these like very rugged, off the beaten track places. And sometimes I think people wonder, like, could this be me? Am I the kind of person who could come on a Dragons course? And I think if you're asking that question, the answer is probably yes. Our students are just people who are curious and excited about the world. They want to go on an adventure, but often they're also nervous. I think that's that's really normal, and actually something that makes a better Dragon student is that they're people who are also really pushing themselves outside of their comfort zone with this journey. So curious, excited, a little bit nervous, ready to explore, want to take the next step in your Mandarin, in your life, in your understanding of the world. If any of these feel like a part of you, then I think you could be a very good Dragon student, and we'd love to have you join us. Now we have a short video. This is about our Mandarin courses specifically. Some of you might have seen this already, but we'll just play this video before we get into some of the specifics of our courses in China and Taiwan.
Learning Mandarin is a tool to open up your world and connect with different cultures, communities, and ideas that you otherwise might not have access to. When you choose to study Mandarin, you're committing to something that is not easy, and it can feel quite tedious.
In American high schools, middle schools, and colleges, there's not a lot of opportunities to speak and to practice your Chinese in your day-to-day life. Compared to Dragons, where they kind of put us all into like this Chinese market, we're in like a village where no one speaks English, and they're like, you have to come back with these items, and then they left.
So I started Chinese when I was in first grade. I'm coming in at a self-assessed intermediate level. So I thought, but then when speaking with the locals, I realized that there is a lot more work that I need to do.
When students join Dragons programs, they get to use the language every single day, and it's often extremely rewarding for them. It can feel like all that studying really paid off.
I was really impressed when some of my students came back from a Summer of Dragons program. They have become much more confident when they speak Mandarin, whereas before, the same students would struggle to think of words, sentences, sentence structures to express themselves.
If you only stay in the class, you can only learn some theory from the book and from the blackboard, what you copy what the teacher said. But if you put yourself into practice, then you can really benefit a lot from the social environment.
Something I love about Dragons programs in China and Taiwan is that we venture beyond the big cities that international tourists usually visit. In most of the places that we go, students have to speak Mandarin.
There's more of like a practical approach to it because I know
Okay, so I hope that provides a good visual into a little bit of what we're about to share more about. So I'm going to hand it over to Shuier, who's going to talk about the specifics of some of our programs. I think we can't hear you all of a sudden.
How about now? Can you hear me still?
Yeah.
Perfect. There is some technical issue with my headphones, but all right. So Maddie has spoke about who we are and what we do as an organization and some generic traits of our programs. And now I'm going to dive into some specifics about our programs in China and Taiwan. Like Maddie said, 30 years ago, Dragons actually had its very first program in China. And as you can imagine, China holds a very special place in Dragons community. And we have a very big and strong network of communities, homestay families, language teachers, ISP mentors, and curriculum resources to support our programming here. So over the years, with the contribution from our instructors and the communities that we work with, our programming has gone through countless iterations to create meaningful growth and lasting memories for our students. But despite the changes, the main focus for our China program is still learning Mandarin. After a 4-year pause due to pandemic, we are really happy that we relaunched our Mandarin language intensive program in China last summer and had run 3 cohorts simultaneously and are extremely excited to welcome more students, maybe some of you, to come to China in the coming years. And this upcoming summer, we will offer 2 different lengths for our Mandarin language intensive programs, a 4-week option and a 6-week option. So let's take a look at what are the similarities and what are the differences between those 2 options. All right, so we can go to the next slide. Maddie, can we go to the next slide? Thank you. Perfect. Yes, great. All right. So as you can see from the slide, the program structure for the 4 week and 6 weeks are the same. So the program will start with an orientation, and then afterwards you will transition into your first homestay, and then afterwards an excursion of some sort. So often it's a track, and then after the excursion, then you will transition into a second homestay. So after the second homestay, it will be a student-led expedition, and before everybody goes home, then the group will get together to do something we call a transference, which is basically a reflection about the journey, about the learning before you head home. So the basic structure of the 4 week and 6 weeks program are the same. And also the structure during the homestay is roughly the same. So students will be taking language lessons in the morning or the afternoon, and the other half of the day will be devoted to ISP, which is independent study projects. So I'll be talking about, I will introduce independent study projects a little later when we are talking about the program components. Something else which is pretty much the same is the format of the language lessons. So the student will be having 2 to 3 hours of daily small group lessons provided by professional Mandarin teachers, like the one you saw in the video earlier. And so on both programs, the 4 week or 6 week, you will be doing one urban homestay and one rural homestay. So the rural homestay is going to be with an ethnic minority community in China and an Aboriginal community in Taiwan. Which gives the students an opportunity to see different lifestyles and be exposed with not so mainstream culture in the places that we travel to. And there will also be opportunities for students to explore cities, rural areas, as well as nature. And there will be opportunities for you guys to experience different lifestyles, socioeconomical backgrounds and culture, and plenty of opportunities for you to use your language skill for sure. And the differences is mainly the time that we spend in homestays. For the 6 week program, you'll be looking at maybe spending 5 to 7 days in each of the homestay. But for the 6 week program, you're looking at spending 10 to 12 days in each of the homestays. And which means on the 6 week program, you'll have more time to devote to your independent study project. And also the time for the student-led expedition will be different. On the 4 week program, you're looking at about 2 to 3 days. And on the 6 week program, it will be about 4 to 5 days. So those are roughly the similarities and the differences. Okay, so then our program in Taiwan. We started our programming in Taiwan about 6 years ago to add another Mandarin-speaking location on our program map. And Taiwan's rich and layered history and its complicated identity offers students a unique perspective on Mandarin learning. So to provide students with more options and flexibility in terms of the time they can commit to a summer program, we will be offering 2-week Mandarin language intensive program in Taiwan this summer. So instead of the 4 weeks. So if you have a limited time to spend, maybe Taiwan would be a good option for you. And we're also very excited to introduce a brand new summer program in Taiwan, which is called the Re-envisioning Entrepreneurship 3-week program. So then we can look at some of the details of those programs. All right, so the Mandarin language intensive still focuses on learning and improving Mandarin through immersive experiences. The general program structure stays the same as our 4-week language program. So it will also start with an orientation, then the student will head into a homestay. So you will only be doing one homestay. And after the homestay, you will be doing an excursion and a student-led expedition and also do a transference before you head home. So the structure during the homestay is roughly the same. You'll be taking language lessons every day and be engaged with ISPs or community learning activities in the afternoon or the other way around. So the structure for during the homestay is roughly the same. And for the Re-envisioning Entrepreneurship program, is going to be less focused on language learning, but aim at building transferable professional skills for the future. Students will be paired up with an organization in the field of their interest with the support of a mentor from the organization. And the students will complete a series of well-designed tasks to explore a selected field of interest within the professional landscape of Asia. And they will gain insight into how companies and organizations function within a different culture frame, and hopefully develop cross-cultural communication skills by interacting with professionals and peers in a new environment, and practice some of Mandarin and build a global perspective by analyzing differences and similarities in organizational dynamics, and also witness and immerse themselves in diverse work and cultural practices. So this is a brand new program we'll be introducing this upcoming summer. The program will also begin with an orientation. Then the student will be paired up with an organization or company for a week. During the day, students will spend time with their mentoring organization or company, and in the evening, they will attend interesting professional gatherings in Taipei with their instructors and peers. So there is no homestay on this program, and the student will stay together in an accommodation together throughout the trip. So it might be guest houses and hotels and places like that. So there won't be a homestay. So during the week of placement, students will be in Taipei, and after the placement, the group will have excursion around Taipei to experience the diverse culture Taiwan has to offer. And before the program ends, instead of a student-led expedition, a student will have an opportunity to present their learning and findings at their organization and have a transference to reflect on the whole trip before you go home. So this is some more specific details about our programs in Taiwan. Okay, so then I'm going to talk a little bit more about a few frequently asked program component. So as you may know from reviewing our materials online, as well as the materials that we send you, we have 9 program components on pretty much all of our programs. But now, because we are changing and designing new programs, so some programs might not have all of those 9 program components. For example, like on the Re-envisioning Entrepreneurship program, there won't be homestays, but the immersion of culture will happen in other ways. So I'm going to talk a little bit about a few of those program components which are frequently asked and are things that students are really excited about. So the first one, of course, is homestay. So we aim to place one student in one homestay, if possible, but depending on the number of families who sign up to host our students each summer, and as well as the students' mental and physical needs, sometimes we do place more than one student in one home. Students will have their own room in the homestay. If we place more than one student in a home, you might need to share a room, but you will never share a bed. And students will gather for language lessons and ISPs during the day and spend the evenings with their host families. Every family is different, as you know. Some have a lot of family members living together or living close by, and some have 1 or 2 family members only. Some families have children, some don't, and some have pets and some don't. Some have religious beliefs and some don't, and each family will be a window into what the life is like in the place that we visit. So we strongly encourage our students to have an open mind about the different types of families and learn from each other. And many parents often ask how we find our host families and how we vet them. Normally, the way we start working with the community is by introduction from someone within the Dragons community, like a formal Dragons instructor or a language teacher or an ISP mentor. So someone who knows who we are and knows what we do. And so then the collaboration would start with one family often, and then through recommendations by families that we've worked with and trusted, we recruit more host families. So before we send students to the family, our country coordinators will pay visit to those families and making sure that they qualify for what we're looking for, and also they will provide training on our health and safety protocol and risk management so that the families are also know what to expect and how to what to do in different situations when they are hosting students. So that's the picture you see now is one of our longest host family in China. And when I first visited this household, their second son was 1 year old, and the boy is now 13. So we've been working with them for over a decade, and it was so wonderful to see like the child grown up. So that's one of our longest hosting families in China. And the next picture is our host family party gratitude party in Taiwan. That's in Yilan. You can see the rice paddy in the background. And next is another important program component, which is ISP, which I mentioned earlier. It's basically independent study project. So in our programs during urban homestay, students have an opportunity to take on independent study project, which is an opportunity for you to dive deeper into an aspect of the culture of the place that we're visiting. So a few popular ISPs in China and Taiwan are Kung Fu, calligraphy, cooking, tea ceremony, pottery making. So basically, you can even start thinking about what kind of thing that you're interested in already now. And then before you get to China or Taiwan, your instructors will have a conversation with you, and you can talk to them about your areas of interest and let them know that you want to take up maybe Kung Fu calligraphy or whatever that is, and then they can start preparing and talking to the mentor, looking for the mentor and talking to the mentor for you and setting that up for you. All right, so that's ISP. So this student is doing Kung Fu, and now they're doing calligraphy. Lovely. Okay, so another program component is called learning service. So during the rural homestay, so you will basically be doing ISPs during your urban homestay, but during the rural homestay, students will have an opportunity to engage with something we call learning service, which is another program component. So we work very closely with communities that we're staying in and create opportunities for students to learn about the communities through hands-on activities. So our students have helped in kitchen in the Yilan, which prepare foods for the elders in the community, which is a picture in the next slide you will see in a minute. And in this picture, our students are helping local farmers in a community in Zhengxibao during the cabbage harvesting season. So we don't just go into an community and start offering our service or quote unquote help without learning about the community or having a deeper engagement. So anything we do with the community is intentionally designed and in collaboration and conversation with the community to make sure that we are actually doing something useful rather than creating a burden or doing more damage to the community. So that's our approach to learning service. All right, so next slide, you will see the students helping with cooking in community kitchen in Yilan. All right, next. Okay, so one thing which is probably on all of your minds, language learning. So again, a very important program component. Even on our non-language focused programs, we also emphasize on language learning because when you pick up the local language, whatever that is, it would deepen your communication, deepen your connection with the place, with the people. So even on non-language focused program, we encourage students to pick up local languages. But the programs in China and Taiwan are actually focused on language immersion. So that will be one of your big focus during your time here. So as I said earlier, every day you will have 2 to 3 hours of daily small group lessons provided by professional Mandarin teachers during your homestay. And when you're traveling, then language acquisition will happen in other ways, like by speaking to local people. But you will have like sit down, like more classroom setting language lessons every day during the homestays. So language teachers will assess your language ability and divide you guys into smaller groups, normally with 2 to 3 students in each small group, and they will tailor the instructions to satisfy your learning needs. Lessons are often designed in line with the program activities and itinerary flow to facilitate easier communication for you. And you will have opportunities to use and practice with homestay families and other local people as you travel through. All right, so this is the picture of the language lesson. I think they're doing an activity together with combined smaller groups. And the next picture is also it's the language teacher giving instruction in our Lijiang homestay. All right. So next, so this is not really a program component per se, but it's a big part of the program, food and dietary. So I think everyone is interested and curious about the food they will be eating. And generally, I would say whether you go to China or Taiwan, food is always a highlight. And after eating there, I'm more worried about you going home and missing the food in China and Taiwan. So they both places have a huge variety of different kinds of food. And meals are often shared, family style eating, as you can see in the picture. So you would be basically serving yourself from a large communal plate, which is great because you have all the options on the table and you can decide how much or how little you want to eat the offerings. And it's also very easy to accommodate different dietary needs and the food allergies. So if you do have any special dietary needs or food allergies, please communicate with us ahead of the time, and then we definitely can make accommodation for you. But if you follow a specific diet for religious or health reason, again, reach out to us and communicate with us about that ahead of time, and we will assess whether a program can accommodate your dietary and food needs if it's more specific. So yeah, that's food and dietary. And another part, rugged travel. So on the program, student will take a variety of public and private transportation, depending on the itinerary. So most of the time, we encourage students to take public transportation if possible, if it's available, because that's how local people travel. We want you to experience how local people go from place A to place B, and yeah, just really be immersed in that experience as well. But for special circumstances or occasions, if we need to, if public transportation is not available or is unsafe, and then we will have private transportation arranged. But generally, traveling like local people do is what we aim to do on the program. Okay, last but not least, one other important program component is tracking. Even though the China and Taiwan programs are not tracking intensive, so there will be some element an opportunity for students to do some day hikes in the places or even multi-day hikes in the areas you'll be visiting, like in Yunnan. Yunnan is a very mountainous place, and we have a lot of really beautiful mountain tracks and hikes, and Taiwan is similar with a lot of really beautiful mountain terrains. So pushing physical limits within safe bounds is a great way for students to learn about themselves and gain tenacity, resilience, and self-awareness. So we will also create opportunities for you guys to explore the beauty of nature in those places and by pushing your own physical limits. So yeah, that's a picture of students hiking in a rainforest in Taiwan. And the next picture, you will see very different landscape. As one picture is when the students are hiking in Tiger Leaping Gorge in Yunnan with the snow mountain in the back. All right, so that's all from me. And I'll pass it back to Maddie to talk more about preparation.
Thank you so much, Shuier. It's always just so, even for me, I've seen these slides so many times, but I always just love to see all the beautiful photos and it makes me miss Chinese food and to get excited to go back this summer as well. So preparing for your course. So once, and we can talk a little bit about the admissions process at the end, but once you've officially applied and been accepted to a Dragons course, then you are in your pre-course preparation period where we're going to do our very best to get you ready to travel and to have everything that you need in order to do that. So one great resource, and I suggest that everybody checks this out if you haven't already after the webinar, is our Yak board, which is our program blog, where students, while students are in the country where they're traveling, they can share pictures and reflections for their family members back home. So even though you're traveling without tech, you can at least share a little bit of your experience with your friends and family. And it also creates a very cool program diary that the whole group co-creates together throughout the course of the program. But before the program, this is also a great resource. So we'll be sharing things, information related to health and safety and vaccinations and medications. So anything that you might want to do ahead of time, anything you should keep in mind as you prepare for the trip to make sure it's a healthy and safe experience for everybody. And we'll also share some information about visas and logistics. We don't apply for your visas for you, but we'll give you some information about what that process looks like. You also would not need one for Taiwan, you would for China. And then we'll also, about 3 months before the trip departs, you'll hear a little bit about the program logistics, your final itinerary, as well as information about the group flight. For all students on summer courses, we have a group flight option where you would meet at a central location or a city, so often on the West Coast for our flights to Asia, and then you would fly with the group over to your program destination, and that would be chaperoned on our summer courses by an instructor or another Dragon staff member. So all of that information will be posted on the Yak board in the months leading up to the program. We will also share a detailed packing list with you at that point. But for some general packing tips, as Dragon students, we are trying to be light and move easily through the places where we travel. So we encourage students to bring backpacks that, you know, are just a little bit easier to move around with, since we are in transit a lot on these courses and in a lot of different kinds of transit. So our travel's a little bit rugged and we want to be prepared for that. And then we'll share more information on a specific packing list in the months leading up to your course. Oops. Like I said at the beginning of the webinar, and I hope this is coming through in a little bit of what we shared here, our courses in China and Taiwan, a lot of them are Mandarin immersion courses, but they're amazing Mandarin immersion opportunities, but they're also so much more than that. And we're hoping that there's more that you get out of these programs too. A big part of that is personal growth that just comes from challenging yourself in a new space. And especially challenging yourself with instructors who are really going to encourage you to reflect on those experiences, to think about how you're learning and growing throughout your program. And I think that's really the heart of the growth we hope people are experiencing on all of our courses. Of course, we're hoping you're growing in your cultural competency, and this is related to language, and it's also a little bit separate from language too, but that by the end of the course, you feel like you've really built relationships and made connections in this place, that one day you could come back and have people to see and have things to share with whoever you're traveling with, and that this is a place that you feel connected to for the rest of your life, have a relationship with, understand on some level quite deeply. We're also hoping that students are growing in their leadership skills. And again, this is coming from all the ways our instructors are encouraging students to get out of their comfort zone, take lead on different activities. We mentioned the student expedition phase a little bit earlier on in the webinar. And that's an opportunity that students have to basically take over the itinerary for a couple of days. So we might say, okay, we're going to be like in this region of Yunnan province for the next 4 to 5 days, but it's up to you all to decide what we're going to do, where we're going to stay, and how it's all going to happen. And which is always a really exciting and also nerve-wracking opportunity for students to decide the things that they're really most interested in learning and seeing and exploring. And then, of course, it's also an opportunity to develop some of these leadership skills and take on different roles in the group and challenge yourself in that way too. And finally, yeah, we just want this to be an incredible eye-opening experience, a chance to really see and do something that's so different and unfamiliar from you know, from your everyday life, and that you're going to be coming home with incredible friends and memories and language skills and new foods that you're excited to cook for your family, and whatever that means for you personally. I think hopefully you could find it somewhere on these courses, and just have an amazing trip. We have about 20 minutes left, so we can open it up for questions, and then I'm also happy to share a little bit more about our admissions process at the end. What questions does everyone have? I'm so glad we have so many folks here tonight, so hopefully we can chat a little bit now.
Yeah, feel free to unmute yourself if you have a question, or just type it in the chat box. We're happy to look through the chat box as well, if you don't want to unmute and speak.
Hello, my name is Lucas.
Hi, Lucas.
And I have a question about, I don't know, just a question for either of you, but like, what's one of the like more special ISPs that you've seen from your students while in China?
It's a very good question. More special one. So I guess ISPs can go two ways. So one way is that the typical one I mentioned earlier, by pairing up a student with a local mentor, and then you're basically learning like a skill through the mentorship with the teacher. But ISP can also happen in the form of a research, or really tapping into your own areas of interest. I think one of the most special ISP I've personally seen, that actually through my parents' hosting experience, that one student started to collect ghost stories while she was in China, and turned that into an illustration. So she went home with a book of Chinese ghost stories of her own illustration. And then before she left, she actually made that into prints and shared with all the host families, which was a very special thing. So that was one special kind of ISP I remembered, which she took on the initiative to ask people around her, collect the stories, and so that took less sort of mentorship from the local mentor. But something else which is a recent example from the fall semester in China is wood block printing and or seal carving, which is deeply ingrained in Chinese culture, and it's related to the Chinese characters and the history of Chinese characters. And if you're interested, we can find you a teacher to teach you how to carve stone seals or make wood block prints and things like that. So those are a couple of more special ones I can think of.
Yeah, I have one to add as well. That ghost story one is so cool. On my very first dragons course about 5 years ago in China, I had a student who just was really interested in tea. And so he was the only person on the course who wanted to do a tea ISP. So he just worked one-on-one with a local mentor. She had a beautiful home up in the mountains that he would go to, and he learned how to do a full traditional tea ceremony during his 6-week Mandarin immersion program. And he also did a lot of cool, with his mentor, he did some cool outings to a tea factory in Kunming. And at the very end of the program, she took him to a tea market to sample tea, but also to buy his very first full tea set. And then when he was from Boulder, Colorado, where Dragons is based. And so when he got back, he invited a lot of the Dragons administration to come to his home, and he did a full tea ceremony for them in Colorado afterwards. So that one still warms my heart. And it was fun for me too, as the instructor, because I got to come and help translate when he went to the factory and the market as well. So it was just very cool to see how much he loved this art and really immersed himself in it. Great question, Lucas. Thank you.
Thank you, Lucas. And we have another question in the chat. Maddie, would you like to take that?
All right, so the question is, obviously, I'm always concerned about the safety of the students, especially girls, when they are staying alone with the homestay family. How do we ensure that they will be safe? Has there ever been an incident or issues? How was it addressed since the students did not have phones with them? Yeah, that is a great question. And I think, probably one of the primary things that parents are often, and students as well, are often nervous about going into these homestay environments. So a few different things. I think, like we talked about earlier, we know all of these families very well, and most of them have been, hosting Dragon students for sometimes years. So we feel really good about our vetting process, and that we trust these families a lot to take care of our students well during the time that they're in country. If there are ever any concerns, so students are meeting with their instructors every morning for a check-in, and that's an opportunity to share any questions, concerns that students have with the instructor team. And sometimes that's not even big stuff, but if there's ever like anything we can help students address with their homestay family, little things that might be coming up, or cultural things or language things that students are not sure how to navigate, that's an opportunity to talk through those things, as well as any bigger issues that students are experiencing. So the instructors are definitely very present, even when students are in the homestay. And then all students do have, we always give students a card that has our phone number on it. So they don't have their phones, but if there was ever an emergency or anything ever happens, I also always write on the back of the card, like, can I please borrow your phone, in Chinese, so that students can show that to somebody, borrow a phone, and use that in the event of emergencies. So generally, I think we have a very, very good safety record. Overall, I would say China is an incredibly safe place for students to travel. The cities are just much safer than a lot of other places. I've visited cities in the world, and we have a really good safety track record in these homestays. But yeah, we're always there, always in touch with students, and doing our best to be present to respond to any issues that do come up. I don't know if you have anything to add to that, Shuier.
Just to add on Maddie's comment, often during the first night of the homestay, the instructors will make home visits. So they will just do a rounds of visiting homestay families and making sure students are settling all right. And if there is any questions, they can help translate or help sort things out during the first night. And also kind of to just get a sense of how the student is vibing with the family, if you may. And of course, like just to again, triple, quadruple check, like everything is good with the family. Generally, and also another thing we have is we do generally have like a WeChat chat group with all the family members of the homestays in one group with the instructors. So if the students, more for medical kind of situation, if the students are not feeling well at home and the host family is so on it. So they would be sending messages to the chat group to instructors. And if the students are not eating as much one night, they were like, is he okay? He's not eating as much rice tonight. And so they are also nervous in a way. They want to take really good care of our students. They want to be really good hosts. So they are also nervous on a level. So they go out of their way to care for the students for sure. So yeah, there are multiple channels for the host families to communicate, to reach out to our instructors. And we do get frequent updates in our WeChat group. And yeah, often in the rural homestay families are very close to each other. So they're within like 5 to 10 minutes walk within each other and within reach to the program house to where the instructors are. If there is an emergency or anything, they can get to the teacher's house very quickly, get to the instructor's house very quickly. And in the city, the families are more kind of more spread out. But again, like Maddie said, they have our emergency contact cards with the numbers of the instructors on it. And there are definitely ways for them to reach the instructor if they need help. I hope that answers your question, Benny. Great. Any other questions?
Yes, hi. My name's Cameron. I was just accepted to the 6-week Mandarin Chinese program. I was just had 2 questions. If I were to extend the program with a family member who came out to meet me, how would I be able to do that? And could you go into more detail on like reaching out to your family, like using the yak board without your phone, or if you give us the ability to do that?
Thanks, Cameron. And congratulations on being accepted to the 6-week program. That's so exciting. I saw your application in the system a few days ago. So yay, that's great news. And yeah, so that I'm always so happy when students are excited to stay in China after the program. It definitely does happen sometimes. So we offer the group flight to students and families because a lot of, it's a preference for a lot of people to fly all together, but you also definitely don't have to if there's other logistical things that make it not make the most sense. So when a few months before the program, you'll get more information from the admissions team about like travel and booking. So you would just let the admissions folks know that you'd like to book your own return flight, and that you'll be meeting up with somebody at the end of the program. And then your instructors would just need to know if you're flying somewhere else in China, what the plan was for that, or if somebody was going to meet you at the Kunming airport, we would give you a time and place that they could meet and come pick you up. And yeah, so students do that pretty regularly, and I always think it's really fun when they get to stay in China a little bit longer. And then to your question about keeping in touch. So yes, the Yak board is a good form of one-way communication from students to their families and friends back home. Especially on the 6-week course, there might be a couple opportunities for you to get your phone, make some phone calls back home. So it's not 100% no contact, but we just do our best to make it kind of as minimal as possible. So yeah, you would have opportunities, I think, occasionally to touch base or send some emails and things like that, to get in touch. And then of course, if there's ever anything big that happens, we would be in touch with your family, or if there's anything going on at home that you needed to know about, your family could reach out to Dragons and let your instructors know, and we could put you in touch as needed as well if there's ever anything happens.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Great. Well, we just have a few more minutes. And of course, we're always here if you all ever wanted to. I think I emailed everyone today. So if you ever wanted to get in touch with us over email, schedule a phone call, we're also always happy to have one-on-one conversations as well as you think through this decision. But I think before we go, I can just share briefly a little bit more about next steps if you have not applied to Dragons yet, or been accepted onto one of the programs. So if you go on our website, you will see up in the top right corner, there's a little button that says enroll now, and that's where you can find our application. I think sometimes students here, if you're in the world of thinking about going to college, the word application can be a little bit daunting, but our application is not meant to be too overwhelming or burdensome. It's really just a chance for us to get to know you better, and to just make sure that this program is the right program for you at the right moment in your life. That's our big goal through our admissions process. And we suggest students spend about 30 minutes on that application. And then you would also submit a deposit of $850 to hold your spot on the program. So the deposit holds your spot, and then the application kind of moves you through our admissions process. Once we have both of those things, then our admissions team will be in touch about a video interview that you'll record. And then we'll follow up if we have any more questions after we've seen your video interview. Again, just to make sure that this is the right program at the right time. And also if there's anything like dietary restrictions, physical health stuff that we should be aware of, this is a good opportunity to talk through any questions or concerns you have with the admissions team to make sure that we are in a good position to support you during your course experience. And we do have rolling admissions at Dragons. So we'll accept students until a course is full, or until the course is departing. And so you can apply anytime. However, this is definitely our busiest admission season right now in the winter. I think our 4-week China immersion course is starting to fill up pretty quickly, and then there's a little bit more space on the 6 and 2 week courses. But yeah, this winter is a great time to apply if you're interested. And you can also keep an eye on the website. Once a course has fewer than half of the spaces left, we'll post that, and we'll kind of do a countdown with how many spaces are still available. So you'll know when it's kind of getting down to the last few spots and you need to make the decision to apply. But earlier is always better. And then once you've applied and been accepted, then you'll start the pre-course prep process. A few months before the course, you'll be invited to that YAC board. Your instructors will share their introductions. You'll hear more about the final itinerary, get introductions from your group members, hear all the information about logistics and travel and medications and internet stuff. And all of these things will all be posted on the YAC board. So that's kind of our next steps. And it starts with that application and deposit. Although I should also add, if you are interested in financial aid, we do have financial aid available as well. And in that case, you would submit a financial aid application instead of a deposit. And we are here through that whole process. I'm on the outreach team, so I'm one of the people answering the phone, responding to your emails, and we're always happy to chat anytime and help walk you through that process and decide which course is the best fit, and then how to make the best next steps for yourself. Great. Well, thank you all so much for coming out this evening, spending this hour with us. And I hope it was helpful in understanding a little bit better what our courses look like and getting you excited to start this adventure. And we just look forward to continuing the conversation with you.
Thank you, everyone. Lovely meeting you all.
Have a great night.